Thanks for coming in today. I appreciate you being here.
Great to be here. Thank
How,
you.
how did things go between our last session?
Well, I'm still under a lot of pressure.
Okay. Well, I hope we can get some things accomplished for you today then. Before we get really into it, I wanted to talk to you about the fact that we're making a tape for my student graduate school therapist class. And as part of that assignment, the tape could be shown to my professor or other students that will be posted. So you signed a form earlier that released me to do that. And so I wanted to make sure that you're still comfortable with us videotaping.
Yes.
As part of the practice that I'm going to be going into, and as part of what I'm currently practicing, is a code of ethics. And as part of that code of ethics, I just wanted to remind you that I do remain bound to a duty to report if I suspect that you might harm yourself, or if you share with me that someone else might come to harm, as well as any of the information that is said here. I do not have a duty to share any of that, but sometimes a court could force me to do that. But overall, you should expect confidentiality from me. And anything that's in this video or shared with the people in my class or professor, they also are under that same code of ethics. So the information you're sharing should remain confidential. Now, if it were to get shared, I would then discuss with you first. How does that sound?
Good.
Okay. Any questions around my confidentiality agreement or code of ethics?
No, not really.
Okay. Okay, so tell me about what's gone on in the last week since I saw you last.
Well, as I mentioned, I'm still feeling a lot of pressure, under a lot of stress, a lot of pressure at work to try to get things done. You know, as I think I remember sharing with you, I'm traveling basically Monday through Wednesday, so 3 days a week, and then I'm so used to having worked remote, and now I have sort of the stressor that I have to follow these particular rules at work. So I'm gone 3 days a week, and only home 2 days, to kind of work in my office, my home office at my home. And it's just getting really difficult because it's causing not only the stress, but I think it's causing stress on my family life too, with my wife, because I come home and there's things that need to be done, but yet I still have to work the next 2 days in my office and try to help with stuff. So it's just as a lot of pressure that's putting on with me, and it's a lot of things to catch up. I mean, I don't know if I mentioned dishes or laundry and just that kind of stuff. So it's starting to build up on me.
Okay, so let me make sure I've got what's going on, that I've got it clear. You've recently moved and you didn't change jobs, but your job situation changed. You're having to travel more often.
Yes.
And how frequently is that?
3 days a week.
So 3 days a week. You're home 2 days a week.
Mm-hmm.
When you get home, there's a lot of stress there. Are you feeling that same stress when you're traveling?
When I'm away from the house, I don't feel that much stress, but it's when I get home. And then, I know when I get home on Wednesday, I still have to work that Thursday and Friday. And then I'm thinking, oh, I have the weekend. So I'm thinking about the next Monday. And then that stress just builds up again. And then I have to plan. I have to make sure that, my flights are the things I'm doing. And but there's distractions to that because I have to help around the house and do the things that my wife wants things done, and to help her. I mean, because we just moved and there's still a lot of things that are happening, with just organizing our space. And so it's just one of those things that it's constantly happening, and the weekend goes by, lickety split, and there I am, bye, and I have to go to work. So I think I also feel the stress that I'm putting on her, because I'm stressing out about work, and then I'm worrying about her, and I'm sure she's feeling the same way, that, oh, there he goes again. Now I have to do all this stuff by myself. So I don't know. It just makes me worry about thinking what I'm doing.
Okay, so how is all of this that's going on at home, and then those 2 days when you are home from work, how is that affecting your actual work? What's the reason you're seeking my assistance?
Well, I'm finding that I'm getting distracted. I could be at home at work, doing a certain task, a work-related task, and then thinking, oh, you know what? It's so easy for me to stop doing that and find something else to do than work, something that may not have been done. And honestly, it's a good distraction in the sense that, I didn't want to work. And then I come back to it, I say, I'm going to take a break from this. I'm going to do this little task, do laundry, or I don't know, go out and fix a lawnmower really quick and then come back. But I just can't seem to get refocused. And, I don't know if I'm actually looking for distractions because to take myself away from work. I just feel like I'm a jumble.
Okay, so is it affecting specifically like your work performance? Have you heard things from your supervisor? Like, how is it? Obviously, you're saying it's happening, but is it manifesting itself into some sort of other issue, even with, from your boss or your colleagues or employees?
Well, no, that's a great question. And I think with my tenure and where I am in the company, I still get the work done, but I'm one of those people that seems to be doing it at the last minute, but it's not being noticed. So I am kind of fortunate in that sense.
Okay, so you're still getting work done, but it's more of a strain, or you feel like it's not in a fashion that you would prefer?
Well, there's that, but I think the fact of it is that I'm just feeling so much anxiety about, am I doing it right? I'm feeling pressure. I'm feeling the stress, and I just feel it. I'm uncomfortable with where I'm at in that process, and it just feels like, I'm having trouble dealing with it, and I need to find a way to overcome, my scheduling or the things that I'm doing, and how can I focus my time? This is my work time, and this is not my work time, but I just feel it overcoming me a little bit.
Okay, so last week you did mention that you had anxiety and you were taking medication. Has that changed? Has the anxiety gone up from previous, and are you still, if so, taking the medication?
Yeah, I am taking the medication. I would like to think that it's helping me, and that the things that I need to work out have to come from within. And I just don't know if I can, where to find that strength to do it.
Okay, well, if you feel that your anxiety level is gone up because of the stressors that you've taken on, I'd like to suggest that you maybe check in with your doctor just to make sure that the dosage you're currently on is helping you. If you're not feeling a difference in the anxiety level about how it physically is manifesting or whatever, then, feel free to continue. But I definitely would think that at some point you might want to reconsider that and maybe go back to your doctor and talk about it if some of the things that we work on don't work as well. So is that okay?
Yes,
okay.
Definitely.
So I think what you're describing to me is somewhat of a generalized anxiety, and it's sort of comes and goes. Is it sort of assigned to certain tasks, or is it only on Thursdays and Fridays?
Well, I mean, it definitely comes and goes. It definitely happens prior to me traveling on a Monday, and then me on my way home on a Wednesday, and then getting home, and then thinking, yay, I'm home. And then it doesn't necessarily go away, because I feel, the home person versus the work person. But then, and I can start to relax, but then I just start thinking about, I have to leave again. And then, it starts again.
Okay.
And if there's a way that I can compartmentalize, I think that, that's something I'm kind of trying out. Of course, that gives me anxiety and stress.
So anxiety does include like excessive thoughts about the same thing or persistent. It doesn't have to be nonstop all the time, but from what you shared before and then what you're sharing today, it sounds like it's specific to maybe the part where you're working at work and then you're working from home, and then the lead into the next time you travel and it sort of starts over again. Is that correct?
Yeah, because I'm worrying about that stuff. I'm worrying about expense reports. I'm worried about checking in with my boss. I know there's certain things he may have asked me, and then I know I got to get back to him. I'm worried a little about managing my team and making sure they're all on the same page, because I have 8 direct report. And I just basically, what am I going to be doing next week, and what conference calls do I have, and how do I make that schedule out? Anyways, I'm getting those things done, but I'm worrying about them all week.
Do you ever find that sometimes the worry takes up more time than the actual effort it would take to get things done? Have you ever reflected on that?
That is something to think about.
Okay.
I don't think I have reflected on that.
Okay. So you talked about expense reports and reports. the things that you do at work, can they be prioritized in some way?
I mean, they're due once a week, so I guess, in a way, there's that, yeah, definitely.
So even though they're all due, is there some degree of flexibility around when they're turned in, or is it predictable? How do you have any control over when those tasks are completed, or is it a certain day on a certain time they must be done during that particular period?
Well, I do have control, as long as they're turned in on a weekly basis, at least by Friday. So I do have, I can turn them in on a Monday, I can turn them in anytime I need to, so.
Okay, so you do have some flexibility, you have control, a little bit of control of your calendar schedule when you're home, and but you've got some things you must get done and you cannot put them off.
That's correct.
Not quite affecting you at work yet, but there's a fear that it might, if it continues, if you don't sort of lift some of these stressors.
I would agree.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I want to ask the kind of a perfect world scenario to you. What would it look like, or how would you feel if you had this less dread or this less stress that's going on in your life? What would that feel like to you?
I feel content, definitely relaxed. I think I'd be that person who I used to be, which is someone who doesn't feel this anxiety about things that are coming up, that can really handle anything that comes to me and just take care of it and not worry at all, or a little, not much.
So if you got everything done at work and it was less, push and pull, and you got it done without all the worry part, then you would probably say that's a happier place for you to be.
I would definitely say that that's a happier place for me to be.
And how would it affect your home life and or your professional life?
Well, I feel that I would be more of a content person. I definitely would feel a lot less anxiety. I know I'd feel more comfortable in my surroundings, both in the workplace and then my role at home, that I can handle these things, and I think it would relieve a lot of pressure on me, and certainly the things I need to accomplish.
So certainly how it makes you feel when you're sort of under this kind of potentially self-imposed duress or stress. Can you think of a time and share with me when you weren't feeling this, discontentment or level of stress or anxiety about getting things done? Can you share that with me?
Well, definitely prior to working remotely. When we lived in our previous place where I was working in the city that I was at, I mean, I didn't have to worry about travel schedules, and I didn't have to worry about leaving my family, and I didn't have to worry about those things. And so that burden that's been put upon me is that feeling, and that's the thing that's definitely causing it. And I know we did it ourselves. We decided we wanted to move, and I expected something like this, but I thought I'd be able to handle it in a much better way. And so I just I need to find a way to just be able to overcome that in some fashion.
Okay, so you created some of the stress on your own, but at the same time, you're sort of happy about it. So it's a happy stress, it's a happy time in your family, but yet at the same time, it created sort of a domino effect with work. And you'd like to get back to a place where you were getting things done, you felt some contentment, maybe a sense of accomplishment.
Yes,
Every week, so you could sort of end your week on a high note versus a worry note.
absolutely.
I think I have an idea of how we might be able to get you to start to decrease some of that worry and maybe get some of that good feeling back.
I'm looking forward to it.
Okay, so
Yes, that would be great.
let's try to break down your anxiety into like some homework exercises. And so it's not homework in the traditional sense that it's busy work or it's supposed to be difficult, but it might help you get some things done and accomplished, especially when you're feeling at your highest level of anxiety or stress during the day. How does that sound?
I can try.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay, so let me dig a little deeper. I'll ask a couple of questions. So you mentioned expense reports and you mentioned some employee reports. How much time do you devote to those weekly?
So 7 employees, about anywhere from a few hours a week for each of those folks. Expense reports, maybe an hour, 2 hours tops. And then I have a lot of conference calls and all that. So over the course of the week, it's definitely a couple of hours maybe 3 hours a week.
Okay, so to complete the expense reports and the employee reports, it takes you about 3 hours a week?
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
so how much time do you think you actually worry about getting those done? Like, the preparation or the dread that's going on in your mind? Do you find yourself thinking about those outside of the workday or when you're at work?
Wow, that's really a great question. You know, probably an hour a day. Just think about what I need to do. So what's that? It's 6-7 hours a week, and that added up with where am I at when I'm driving? I'm thinking about it possibly, or when I'm in a shower, or trying to enjoy cooking food with my wife or making dinner or something like that. I'm going, what else do I have to do? So it can really hit any time during the day.
So you've still got some worry going on. It may or may not be related to these, but these tend to be the things that you must get done, whether you like it or not. They may be combined with some of the things you've got to get done, but they can certainly be broken down into smaller pieces perhaps, and you do have a little bit of control over when you get them done, because that's important for the homework.
Yes, I do have control. I could figure out times that may be more organized, or if I feel some sort of panic or something coming on, to just pull back and go, wait a minute, I have this. But try to organize myself a little bit better.
Okay, so you mentioned you usually spend potentially more time worrying than you do actually getting the work done itself. But is that a correct statement?
I think that would be a correct statement.
Okay, so I think that we get a lessen the amount of time you're worrying about it, and actually focus on just the time that you've got to get it done. That could potentially help how you're feeling about some of these things. So here's what I want you to try. I want you to get a timer, a little egg timer, or use your phone. And I want you to think about these two things that take you said 2 to 3 hours a week, and taking them in increments. So I want you to set that timer for 15 minutes. So I want you to turn off your computer, or close the tab on your computer so you're not distracted. So no emails are popping up, no Skype calls are happening. Sometimes people can put it on their calendar. If they have control of their calendar, they can actually block that time off. It's important that every day you're thinking about that uninterrupted time. It's Mark's time. It's your time to focus on the things that are hardest for you to focus on. So for the employee report, same thing. You said sometimes they can be longer. So you're going to have to determine how long is that going to take me. But the 15 minutes is important. When you start the timer and end the timer, you're done. It's important for you to take these in smaller chunks, because it's ultimately easier to swallow those 15 increments of time versus 1 hour of time. And with the worry that sets in, that can cause you to start worrying about something else. So in those 15 minutes, if you find that you are worrying or another thought comes to mind, I want you to just write it down. Post-it note, whatever's at your computer.
Mm-hmm.
So, there's sort of an assignment within an assignment. One is just the 15 minutes. And then once you're in that, trying to complete those tasks, and something comes into your head that's not about your expense reports or your employees, I want you to just write it down on a piece of paper, and sort of things to do. But it's things to get off of your head right then, write them on a piece of paper, and put them away. And then after the 15 minutes, you can always return to those things. Next week, we're going to talk about how you think you did with the assignment. We're going to talk about how it made you feel when you did accomplish some things during that 15-minute period. We're going to talk about those emotions again, about what happens to you when you don't accomplish them and what happens when you do accomplish them. And then if you can get through those incremental periods, I just want to check in with you to see what changed about those. Your quality of work increase or decrease, or just really any feedback you have. But hopefully this will help you break things down into smaller bites that you can swallow, each time and each day. So you're not coming home and feeling completely stressed. How does that sound?
Sounds pretty good. I just wish you just take away all the work that I have to do.
Yeah, I know. I wish I could. I'm not a miracle worker, but perhaps this will help us just a little bit.
Right.
Thanks for coming in today.
You bet. Good seeing you again.
Bye-bye. Nice to see you.